Hey everyone, this is week 3, and we're going to be primarily focusing on emotions today, clearing what isn't ours and identifying what is ours and kind of sussing out the difference, as well as just tracking whose energies are in our field, and then maybe exploring a couple other processes depending on how deep we go with emotions today. So I hope you're excited. I'm excited. Welcome, welcome. And just kind of, as always, like welcome yourself into the container, find your seat. And we'll kind of start and see if anybody has any questions from the last 2 weeks, any of the processes that are like working or not working for you. Yeah, but let's just like open the floor first and see how we're doing. If nobody has any questions, then we'll just get into the today. But yeah, I want to see if anybody has any questions first.
Hi, I don't have a question. I have more so of a comment. So I was watching, I think it's week 1, and you were having us like practice leaning forward, like having our aura lean forward or back. And I gotta say that was very uncomfortable. I was like, please don't ever have us do that again. But at the same time, it was like a really good learning experience, because then I was able to have a reference point to what discomfort can feel in my space. So at the same time, I was like, oh, that's great, but also doesn't feel good. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty pretty awesome technique practice that I had not done yet, so that was new. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it's kind of intentionally uncomfortable, so you can like feel how massive the difference is between like when your aura is sitting right and when it's like kind of off kilter or askew. Yeah, the first time I experienced that, I kind of hated it. Like the saran wrap sensation, I was like, ugh, never do that again. But that was a Boulder Psychic technique that I kind of updated and tweaked a little bit. So yeah, I definitely hear the discomfort, but yeah, hopefully it gave people kind of a sense of like what being in the center of your aura feels like and what having like a good size for you feels like. So yeah, that was definitely the intention, but definitely hear the discomfort as well. Thanks, Idiani. Anybody else have questions to start? Anything not making sense or not working as you practice? Okay, cool. So I think we will get into emotion today, and let me see what else I had on the schedule. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna focus on, gauges. If I forget, please remind me that we're gonna explore gauges as well. And if you don't know what that means, it doesn't matter. Just remember that word, because I can get kind of in the flow and forget. Shira says, is it not good to send up earth energies to the crown from the grounding cord? Can you elaborate on that, Shira? You can hop out of the chat if you feel comfortable.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was wondering, so is it not good to send up, because especially, I mean, sometimes I kind of, like how you were saying earlier, kind of I'm connected to, I can get kind of out there a lot. Mm-hmm. So is it, because you were saying before to like bring up earth energies up to our heart, mm-hmm. But I was wondering, is it okay to bring them all the way up to our crown just to kind of ground the energy so that it's not spacey or something? Or
Yeah,
does that kind of disconnect you from the cosmic aspect of things? No, it's okay.
No, I think it's personal first. Like I've literally met someone who was so like earth heavy that I only used universal energies with them. So it's just going to be really varying person to person. And at times I've pulled my grounding cord like all the way over my head. So, you know, it just really depends. Sometimes I'll bring grounding cords to individual energy centers. So they can have like their own little thing going on. That's and I'm telling that to you because I know you have other training, and so like, you know, that'll make sense to you. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, just never mind. For anybody else who's like, what? You can do that though. You can bring earth cords to anything really. But yeah, if you're like, I'm super cosmic woo-woo naturally, yeah, I think as many earth energies as you want and need is good. Whatever you need to be here on this earth and engaging your body and your life and your purpose, like do it. But yeah, I don't think it's bad. I just think I cue like the first, second, third, and fourth centers to bring it up too, because that seems to be like kind of where most people dwell, but it's totally personal. Yes, Iriani, exactly. Sometimes I need a sleeping bag earth cord. Yes, I've literally said that before. Yeah, like sometimes you need to like step into it and pull it all the way like up and over, and yeah, just experiment and yeah, trust yourself with that too. And if it feels good and it's working, then do it. That sounds great. But yeah, I usually cue it from like the second center to the fourth center, because it seems like that's kind of a happy medium range for a lot of people. But yeah, it's totally personal. And anytime I'm cueing something, you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. If you're feeling like I need it all the way up to my seventh center, or I need it only to my first, do that. Like trust yourself over me always. Yeah, and I'm just trying to give like a general range. So yeah, anyways, I digress. Great question. Does anybody else have another question? Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about how to engage like other people's energies in your aura and kind of divvy up like whose is it. And then we're going to work with emotions specifically. And I'll speak from experience for myself. I did like the processes we're about to do. I did these for about a year before I was able to like even get to authentic emotion, because I was carrying so much of other people's emotions that it took me like a solid year of engaging these practices every day in order to get to like what was truly mine. So most of the emotions I worked with for like a solid year after engaging these processes were not even my own. So I think for those of us who like tend to sponge and like take on people's stuff, this is huge. And in my opinion, and this isn't true universally, it's not true across the board, but for me and for a lot of people I've seen, the thing that inhibits people from being fully in their bodies and grounded and present is emotion, like just a backlog of it. And sometimes we've carried it for so long that we don't even know that it's there. And then when you release it, you're like, holy shit, I just released like 20 years worth of people's energies, you know? And that's life-changing in my opinion. Obviously have your own experiences, but for me, that was like liberating, is being able to like let go of other people's energies that I had willingly taken on either consciously or unconsciously. And so, yeah, so I think that's huge. So not just clearing people's energies, general energies that are in your space, but also clearing people's emotional baggage that's stuck and heavy in the field. A lot of times for me personally, I tend to find other people's emotions in my lower centers, my lower energy centers, or around like the bottom of my field, just kind of like coagulating around there. But I've seen it in all types of places. So it's going to be personal. So don't get hung up on that. That's just an example. But yeah, I think identifying at least like the category of whose emotion is it is really helpful to releasing it. And sometimes emotions that are our families or our bloodlines that we're carrying can feel so authentic that you're like, oh, that's mine. In the past, I've even gotten like defensive over emotions that were mine. Like I'd get a read from somebody and be like, oh yeah, there's a lot of like your mom's energies in your space that are like her grief. And I'm like, no, that's my grief. Like I feel heartbroken, like because they can be there for so long, and they can be people that are near and dear to us that we really identify as like being close with, that it begins to feel like it's actually ours, but it's not. So we're going to have like a high level of discernment when we engage our emotions, because I find that for a lot of people who are either sensitive or have intuitive prowess, but are new to energy work, tend to have a lot of emotion that just isn't theirs. Yeah, and that's not to say that that's true for you, but in general, that's a general rule of thumb that I found in my limited experience. So as always, take it with a grain of salt. But in the same way that we kind of like clear people's energies out, we are going to like gather people's energies from our space. So this first process will just be general, like energies that feel stuck or heavy in our field. And we'll practice with those, and then we'll move to the emotion. So yeah, I think it makes more sense to do it like with experience versus theoretically talking about it, because it's an experience. It's not a theory. Yeah, so let's just do it, and then we can talk about it later and kind of like parse out what's happening with that. But yeah, let's just do it first, and then if you have any questions at all, we'll get to it. So everybody just kind of find your space in the container. Just immediately, if there's been any energy exchanged in the container, we'll gently give people's energies back to them, send mine back to me, or call your own energies just with your intention and our guides. Just kind of trust that that's happening. And let's just bring big magnets outside of the container, just kind of drawing out any energies that may have collected in our group container. Just good energy hygiene each time, sweeping out our space. We can imagine the guides all have brooms and they're kind of just sweeping the area. Good, and setting the space with earth and cosmic energies. So just imagining that there's lots of earth energies flowing in and structuring the container, along with our intentions and our growth, along with the universal energies streaming in from the top, allowing this container to have dynamism. It can change as we all change and learn, and it can structure and support the learning environment. Good. And then let's work with our individual spaces, our individual energy fields. And remember, if I'm referring to energy fields and auras, it's the same thing, or your personal space. That's what I mean. And I use those words interchangeably. So if you have a grounding cord or column, just kind of let those energies fall away. And you can, as a practice, watch it fall, or you can just trust. You can see it dissolve in place, whatever works for you. And picturing the center of the earth, inviting up to either your hips or your feet, the soles of your feet, a column of earth energies in the correct diameter that's going to support you, correct frequency for today. and letting those earth energies meet you and crawl up your body, cradling each energy center it comes in contact with, and just going as high or as low as feels comfortable. So maybe for some of that, that's to our root. For others, that's to our third center. For some of us, it's going to be a whole like sleeping bag, imagining like you drape yourself in earth energies. Good. If you feel a little floaty still, just bring those earth energies up a little higher. If you feel really heavy and like sluggish in your body, you might want a little less. Just tuning in where you are today. Good. I'm also going to introduce something new for grounding. Sometimes I like to have my whole aura structured and grounded and not just like my energy body. So I'll call up like a huge tree trunk of energies to hold the whole bottom half of my aura. So if you'd like that, you can imagine you energetically raise your hand and that'll be provided in the space. You can see if that makes a difference. Good. And then if you're bringing in a cosmic cord of energies through your head, you can do that. You can bring it just to your crown on top of your head or all the way down to your lower centers, just feeling into what's good for you today. For me, I'm going to go past my crown, my third eye, my throat, and the top of my heart. Just feeling into where is that right place for you today. Allowing the guides to help you with this. Good. And next, we're going to bring that molten amber energy to start to flow down on top of our aura, around the aura membrane, the auric membrane. What I mean by that is the outermost layer of your aura that separates you from the rest of the world. Just letting that, the edges of your bubble be encapsulated by this delicious, warm, molten amber energy. And letting it have its own intelligence and flow so it can support any little rips or tears and mending those in the aura. Letting you have a cohesive shape as it flows down on either side, front and back of the auric membrane. Good. And I'm taking stock of the front of your aura, the back of your aura. As it comes down to the bottom of your aura, letting it support the bottom auric membrane. So you have one nice egg shape or cocoon or sphere. Whatever's feeling authentic for you in this moment. Letting that aura get bigger or smaller depending. Or staying the same. Good. Releasing those molten amber energies. Let's bring a magnet in front of and behind us. Start to release energies into those magnets. Good. And you can have those magnets orbit your field or just drop with those energies. Dropping those magnets down to the earth to compost those energies. Recalling your authentic energies, pure and true, into a golden light orb. Letting your guides help you with that. A fun technique that you can do is you can write your full name on the golden orb if you're like not convinced that it's going to be effective. You can try that for another layer. So for me, I would write Shayla K. Soper. And then those energies are like undeniably mine. So whatever your full birth name is, or whatever name is authentic for you, letting those energies come home to that orb. Good. And then sending that in through the soles of your feet, and you can jump on it or send it in, beam it up through your body. Sometimes I jump on it and then it'll dissolve into sparkles up my body. Just play with it. Good. Just letting that kind of reset your field. And now from this place, kind of introducing yourself again to the container, just being like, hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm here because XYZ, and this is what I'm hoping for. Let your heart introduce itself to the container. Let your heart attune to the heart of the earth as well, just with your intention, with your prayer. Letting the earth see and recognize you as her precious child. Good. And let's start the new process. So just kind of find in your body or in your aura as a whole, a pocket of dense, heavy energies that feel like they're not yours. They don't have to be emotionally charged. They can just be like a pocket of dense energies. So if you're looking at it visually, it might be like gray or kind of darker or dingier looking energies. What it might feel like is a little bit of discomfort that's kind of unidentifiable. Maybe you just get a clear thought. It's like right quadrant 5. You get that, just go with it however it comes to you. We're going to work with our breath a little bit in this. So once you've identified those energies, and don't overthink it, like if your mind is going a million places, that's okay. Just letting your initial knee-jerk intuitive read be trusted and validated. So with our breath, we're going to inhale and kind of like grab those energies. And on our exhale, we're going to send them into a little bubble in front of us outside of our aura. So inhaling, grabbing the dense, dark, murky energies. Exhale, put them in the bubble. And it's just a little bubble. Good. And we'll bring energies to support that. Have the guides support you in that. If you're new to this process, if you're not, just do what you normally do. But with a beginner's mind. Good. So inhaling, grabbing that energy, exhaling, putting it in a bubble in front of you. Good. And let's let that bubble be anchored outside of our field, in the larger container, but outside of our personal auras. So bringing in a cord of energy from the center of the earth, the same way we ground ourselves, we're going to ground these little bubbles outside of us. And if you want, you can bring support from the universe as well, bringing down golden cosmic energy to hold the top of this bubble, the same way we hold ourselves. Good. So just starting to get a sense for what do those energies look like? What did they feel like in your space? Or what's their quality now in this bubble? Does it have a color or a temperature? Does it look like anything? Good. And we're just going to get a sense for whose energies are these. So I like to use like the image of a little odometer, like on a car. It's like a semicircle with a little gauge from like 0 to 100. Sometimes people like to use like graphs or like pie charts, or you might just see a number appear, but we're going to assess like roughly how much of those energies are yours. Just kind of see where that falls. So for me, I'm looking at an odometer and I might say like 40% of those are mine. Or if you don't do numbers, if you're not a numbers person, you can just kind of visualize it like roughly half, a quarter, like just kind of see where that is. Maybe something just comes to you intuitively. Good. And now ask how many of these energies are societal. See if you get another number or a rough estimate. Good. And then how many of these are familial or ancestral? See what comes. And if it's not a clear answer, that's totally fine. This is, for some of us, for most of us, this is our first time doing this. So just give yourself lots of grace, lots of space to explore. Good. We'll bring earth energies to support anything that's coming up. And let's ask, are there any other energies in this space? Or how many of those energies are something else, a different category? Good, so we have 4 categories. We have our authentic energies, we have societal, we have familial/ancestral, and then we have other. So you can use a pie chart or an odometer or something else that works for you, maybe a digital clock. Just playing with it. We're going to clear energies that inhibit your authentic reads. So I'm just going to go around and help people release some stuck things. If you have perfectionist tendencies, go easy on yourself. If the numbers didn't add up perfectly, don't obsess over it. It's totally fine. We're just exploring. And I'm just letting your aura exhale into the earth, anything heavy. And now, since we've looked at those energies a little bit more, see if they've changed at all with our recognition. Sometimes just reading the energies alone will shift them considerably. So see if that's true or if they're the same. And using the grounding cord and the universal cords, we're going to start to release anything that isn't ours. So for some of us, this might be the whole thing. For others, it might be half or something else. So we're going to use those elemental energies to wash over. So let's start with nourishing, yummy green earth energies and wash over the bubble with those. I like to picture a wave overtaking the bubble and starting to release heavier frequencies. Good. Bringing a wave of ocean energies to wash over it. Bringing transmuting fire to change these energies and release them. Bringing wind. Just letting the wind whiff through them. And now see how the energies have changed. Have they released? Have some of them stayed? So anything that's not ours, we'll let it just fall down the grounding cord to be consumed and composted by Mother Earth. Just watching those energies drain out. Good. Good. And now looking at it again, and what remains should just be authentic, your own stuff. So if it needs a little extra support, we'll bring golden cosmic energies to stream down into it, kind of mix with it, update it, evolve it. Sometimes I like to see it churn and spin and kind of turn into something else. It's next evolution. So if I'm dealing with something that's painful, maybe its evolution as a type of wisdom or some sort of energy that nourishes or feeds. It can be anything. So you might see it turn into a flower or light, or just turn into like a little ball of energies. And however much of that is yours to assimilate, we'll let it flow back into our fields in its updated and healed forms. And anything that's not yours will just dissolve and release. Good. So if you're assimilating energies back into you, just let that be really smooth with the help of the container and the guides. Good. Okay. And let's bring vacuums to vacuum out our energy bodies. So I'll use my little dust buster in front of me, and then maybe taking it around to the back of my field and starting to vacuum out any densities that aren't mine. Good. Releasing those outside of your aura and seeing them dissolve. Compost those energies out into the cosmos or to the earth. Good. And let's recall our authentic energies. And this time, let's do it into a little mist, like a golden mist or a sparkly mist in front of us. Letting those energies change and update to current time with the help of our guides, having our guides bring those energies in, and letting that misty energy absorb through our skin. And breathing yourself in. Release the current grounding cord that you have, letting it dissolve or fall away or detach. Good. And from the center of the earth, calling up a brand new one to your feet or your hips. And bringing that up to your lower centers or beyond. Good. So seeing that crawl up your legs, or up your lower centers or your abdomen or higher. Trusting yourself with that, trusting the earth, and will help release energies that inhibit that connection to the earth. Good. And tuning into where is that universal chord for you right now? Does it need to change? Stay the same? Make adjustments accordingly? Bringing in a new one or bringing the one you have further down or a little up? Good. And start to come back to your body, your room. Be touching your legs or your arms, or just reminding yourself where you are. Tuning back in with your breath. Seeing how do you feel now versus before? Did anything shift? Maybe look around your room. Good. And when you're ready, you can come back and ask questions or make comments on that. We're going to take that process deeper as we work with emotions, but that's kind of a feel for how we're going to. So you're welcome to share if something's not making sense. I know I just kind of threw in like the measuring out and categorizing those energies in the process. So if anything needs to be clarified, I'm happy to talk about it more.
I have a question. So with the like gauging, and you say some are like ancient or old, like can some of those still authentically be yours from like past experience or things like that?
Do you mean other lifetimes?
Yeah, I guess, because like some of them I'm like, well, those still feel like an authentic thing, but it's like it doesn't feel it in the way of like you were saying before, like, oh, this is my mom's grief, but I feel it too. Like it still feels authentic.
Yeah. So when I'm saying authentic, I mean like current time, like current this lifetime. And I know lots of other people don't mean that. Like some people will bring in energies from other lifetimes, and for them that's what authentic means. For our purposes, I'm defining authentic as like this lifetime and bringing it up to date to the age and where you are physically. And also it's not familial or ancestral. So familial and ancestral, like in a sense it is authentic, but it's not like, because it's your like flesh and blood, but it's not like conducive to making like an authentic congruent identity if you're trying to like engage your like own energies and your own essence and purpose necessarily. And that's just like the way I'm approaching it. It's not how everybody approaches it. So if I have like this is like more extensive, but and so we're not going to necessarily like do past life stuff in this class, but for example, if I have like gifts that unlock from other lifetimes, I'm going to like update them and bring them to current time, so it's not like jamming my system, kind of, because if I'm running like 1500s Italy, which I have done, it's not like it's cool, and I like, you know, like I get it, and I've kind of like been enamored with that before, but if I bring it to current time and I update it, it feels better. Like it's almost like if you put the wrong kind of gas in your car, and obviously I'm not a mechanic and know nothing about cars, but for example, just run with it. If you put the wrong gas in your car, like it might run, but it's not like ideal. So if you put the exact right type of gas in your car that you need, it's going to feel like clean. So that's the way I approach authentic energies. So I'm not pulling on other lifetimes, even if those lifetimes are like doing similar things or did similar things as you're doing in this lifetime, which, you know, absolutely happens, especially if we're like awakening certain things in this lifetime. There will be like past life memories that resurface if you go deep with this work, or maybe even if you don't. But I'm not sure if what I'm saying is like tracking and making sense, because I kind of like.
No, it makes sense. Yeah,
Okay.
it makes sense. Yeah, I just felt like they were a bit more sticky than the other energies, like the more like familial energies, or like the like societal energies. Those were easy to kind of like push out. But then
Okay.
the ones that were like more ancient, more like, those felt deeper and like just harder to kind of pull on. And so that's why I was wondering, like, okay, and like even when you're like, okay, like move them, you know, with the amber energies or whatever, it was harder to like help those than it was with the other ones that were seemed fairly easy to just like ground. So
Yeah, totally. And we'll kind of work with like more advanced techniques for releasing, like the ways we've enmeshed with other versions of ourselves, possibly. I'm not gonna like specifically, like we're not gonna specifically tailor it to that next class, but we will work with some techniques that release like stickier energies, or the bonding agents of the stickier energies. So right now we're working with the energies themselves. If there's like a glue that's keeping them stuck, that's what we're working with next class. So this class, we're just going to focus on like the energies and like the energies themselves, and not the bonding agents, because a lot of them will release on their own. For those stickier ones that you mentioned, and when you're saying ancient, like they could be ancestral, they could be past life, because I didn't necessarily cue ancient energies as a categorization. So
yeah,
like,
just like, yeah, what you're saying.
yeah, no, but I'm saying like that can absolutely be the case.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we're just kind of giving some broad categorization to give us like a little ability to like divvy it up a little bit at least. And then if it's like, if it falls into the category of other, it could be anything, right? So and you know, this is endlessly nuanced and complex. We're like engaging this with really broad strokes. So yeah, just, and I'd have to like look at your field to like know exactly what you're talking about, but
You're hitting it. You're doing great. So yeah, no, you're understanding it. Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, if you have more questions, let me know. And some of those energies will be stubborn, and that's
Okay.
yeah. But next class we'll go more in depth with like clearing the bonding agents of stickier energies.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody else have questions around like the categorization, or getting reads on the energy itself, or ways to release it, or anything of that nature? Oh, there's something in the chat. I'm always amazed about the power of basics tools, feeling resourced, got to see and feel when the energies are getting transmuted, definitely felt familial and societal. Yes. Yeah, the basics are everything. Yeah, I recently just got my ass handed to me by some like big, powerful guides, and like it's all just back to basics, and the basics never fail you. Like if it's not going to be one technique, it'll be another. So this can kind of take you the whole way. Even if you never like take other classes, like if you just do this class forever, like, or like the techniques we cover in this class or some variation that feels like more authentic to you that you've played with and developed on your own, you know, like these to me are like endlessly nourishing and supportive, and it's a muscle memory, and it builds like trust and rapport with the tools, and the tools will then be successful based on how much we engage with them and how much we trust them. I feel a bit messy, like stuff came up and is hovering now on the surface. Also maybe some grief, confusion, any comments? Really okay to hold this too. Perfectly on time, Shachi, and we're about to work on emotions too. And emotions are by nature messy. You know, and they like, even though we're attempting to categorize them, sometimes they defy categorization, right? Like sometimes it's complex and it's not just grief, it's like other layers of things. So it's totally fine that it is coming up and even on time for this class. So you're doing great. And yeah, just have, for everybody, have patience with yourself, have grace for the techniques and the muscle memory that's developing, because it is developing. And yeah, you're all doing great. You all look good. So yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, oh, there's another comment. I notice that sometimes I hit resistance when trying to gauge energies on my own. Example, if it's familial, ancestral, I notice when in a group container, it's easier. Yeah, definitely. Sometimes sometimes I'll make a container just for a process that I'm doing on my own, and then I'll destroy the container, dissolve it afterwards if I finish the process. But sometimes a container alone, like the intentions, the earth support, the universal support, the momentum, and the guides and allies that you call in, will create like a really nice, like functional space. So I don't know if you do that, Idiani, on your own. You might already like do that, and I know you know these techniques deeply, but yeah, that's sometimes what I do, and it's helpful if things are like more difficult to release. Again, that's more of like an advanced or intermediate technique, but Idiani was asking, okay, what if it's from a chord that keeps coming back, can't clear? Yeah, chords, so you guys are like ahead of the game. We're going to work with chords and pictures, Shira, next class. And if you have a question for me individually, I can, if we have time, I'll answer it later. Like if someone needs me to look at something, I'm happy to do that, but we'll do that at the end of the class. And I totally hear it. Let me see if I can just answer it really quick. Okay, so for me, that's like, that speaks to usually, and this is like broad strokes, Shira, so it might not be for you individually, but in general, it's the bonding agent, the hooks or the underlying pictures with the chords. It'll usually be that. And like for all of us, that's next week. So don't worry about that right now. If you're like, what the fuck is a picture? It doesn't, you don't need to know that right now. But Shira, it's usually going to be pictures or needs that are keeping it in place. So using earth and universal energies to nourish that area and feed the needs if there's needs underneath. If there's stuck pictures, using a little fire, vacuum, exploding pictures, however you do that, that'll usually work. You can play with color frequencies. Sometimes I'll do like blue, red, yellow, green, purple. I'll like run through the rainbow. And then do fire. I'll just do like a slew of energies and like, okay, fire didn't work. Let's bring in like a hurricane, you know? So you can, I mean, you can get really creative with it. And some of my most creative processes have come from just being really stuck. So I hope that's helpful to you. Again, chords and pictures next class. In my experience, needs can be sticky, but once fed, it's magical how fast things dissolve. Literally, yeah. Yeah, I love feeding needs energetically because it literally, like, it clears all the symptoms. So if there's all these like energetic symptoms appearing in your field, this is more ahead of the game, but I have a couple like people in here that like have trained extensively and decided to like revisit the basics. So if there's a bunch of symptoms occurring and I kind of like see a pattern unfolding, it's okay, Edie. Y'all are just annoyingly advanced right now. In the best way. I'm just kidding. But if there's a bunch of energetic symptoms presenting, if I go directly, if I sit with the resistance, I sift through that, I've dissolved that, and I get to like this little hungry little need that needs to be fed. If I just feed that directly, a lot of times the symptoms will disappear. So that's why I'm super into like addressing core needs in my practice, because and with clients, because it will often solve the things that are presenting. So sometimes people will come and be like, I have this like recurring thing, like this type of person shows up in my life over and over again, and I know it's me. I don't know what to do about it. It's usually a need underneath. So if we feed that need, we hold we hold all the layers of resistance and guarding, we feed the need. And for me, I like to bring in like spoons and like spoon feed the need, or like bring in a little saucer and just kind of make it this magical elixir or potion. If we feed that directly, like things usually disappear. So I'm super love that. And also, yes, needs can be super sticky. I'm newer to this. Is it common for guides to assist or start talking during it when they haven't before? During what? During the process?
Yeah, just like during like the clearing out energies, it was almost startling. I was like, oh, but yeah, I was like, I don't know if this is common or normal. There's not really a word for it, but yeah, just with like the clearing of energies, and once you kind of released it, just like chatty. I don't know how to explain it.
That's awesome. And I think like for you personally, is it okay if I give you like a somewhat read on that?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Just because, you know, like we've worked together before. I think for you personally, like you had things that were like knocking at the door ready to unlock, like gifts wise. And I think this container just kind of like helped unlock some things, and you're like doing these processes yourself and engaging your guides. So yes, it's normal, it's good. If you ever feel overwhelmed, tell me. But the last class is going to be focused on gifts and guides and communicating with them. So for you, like if it's coming through clairaudiently, just like sit with it, breathe through it. We'll bring up lots of energies to support you, because I know that can be like unnerving. And not to say that it is, because it might not be for you. But yeah, they can be like chatty all of a sudden and be like, yay, she's listening. Oh my God, she's engaging us. She's talking to us. So the thing about guides is if you talk to them, they talk back. And I think that can be kind of astonishing when we start this work. And I know, Amber, you have hella intuitive women in your family line, and so it's not like weird, but yeah, I think those gifts were just like ripe for unlocking. So I don't know if that's your first time experiencing it, but
Yeah, and it almost like threw me out of it at first, because I was like just startled. So I had to like kind of reel myself back in and be like, okay, come back. So yeah, it was kind of funny, because it was just like all of a sudden it was like a voice in your head. You're like, oh hello, I don't know. But okay, good to know it's not just like a weird occurrence.
yeah. The only thing to look out for is if it's like disturbing. If it's disturbing messages, then obviously that's not your guides. But if it's just like, hi, hello, oh my God, like clear this, do this, like it's guides usually. Like, yeah, like not to freak anybody out, because we're just engaging the guides. But yeah, that's the only thing to look out for. So if that ever happens, just let me know and we can like work with it. Stop making fun of my voice, Idiani. uh,
If you do get thrown out of it, is there an easy way to kind of like reel yourself back in?
yeah, can you describe what you mean by thrown out of it?
Yeah, just like become unfocused, like get distracted by the different directions that it's pulling you in. Just like learn how to like focus in on the thing you're doing.
Yes. So I think something that could be helpful is, and I think I cued this in the first class, is kind of like tuning into like your inner radiance, usually in your heart or your solar plexus, or further down, like in your womb space, like wherever you feel like the most you and like sparkly and alive, and like that's your aliveness and authenticity. Like the inner light inside of you, like, from like I don't know why, but like this little light of mine, like the song is like coming to mind. Like we have those sayings in popular culture and like in different religions because like there's a light inside of you. So if you tune into that light, it can kind of like center you. And also like just like pulling up more earth energies, having your whole field be held by the earth if that feels supportive. Washing over your field with the elements, just like really getting like grounded and stable, finding yourself in the center of your aura. And we've all kind of gotten to sense what that feels like, the difference between being like out versus in. So yeah, just kind of like centering yourself, breathing into like the light in the center of you. That can be stabilizing. If it's not working and helpful, we can do different things, and it might just be like that you have something individual going on, which is fine. And this goes for anybody. If after a class you're ever like feeling super destabilized or something, you can message me, you can email me. If like definitely try out the practices first, and engage your own personal sovereignty with that first. Failing that, you can email me and I'll like send energies. So yeah, definitely like work with it yourself, work with the earth, the elements, your own personal guides, and then barring that, I'll help you out. And Amber, I know you personally, so you can just text me. Cool. All right. Does anybody else have questions or concerns? Okay, so let's talk about gauges for a second, because I just kind of threw that at us. So for me, there's like a million ways to categorize energy. I'm going to use the word categorization over gauges, I guess, because I don't know, that sounds better to me. I'm not a numbers person personally, so engaging like, is it 90%, is it 80%? I had a really hard time with that when I started. If that works for you, do it. And that's a really great way to categorize and get a sense for how much of XYZ is your energy versus another type of energy. If you are more like visual or symbolic, you might want to imagine like a little pie chart, and just see like how much of it, like how much is each slice. I wish I had pulled up a graph, but everybody knows what a pie chart is, right? So it's just like a circle, and then seeing how much of the circle is taken up by, I'm not phrasing this the way I want to. Let's see. Okay, so if there's a pie chart, English, if there's a pie chart, seeing how much is like my authentic energy, how much of like the slice of pie is my energy, and how much is societal, familial / ancestral, or other. Those are the 4 categories we're working with. It is endlessly nuanced. The possibilities are really crazy and profound, and interdimensional, and other lifetime, and etc. This course is not on that, so we're just going to keep it real simple. And if you never do anything other than this, it should work for you. Just at least some variation of this. So you can use a pie chart. Sometimes I like to see an odometer, so like a semicircle, and like a line that falls to either direction. That tends to be the one I use the most, and just imagining that. My partner teaches doing it with your hands. I think doing it with your hands works if you are super embodied and in your own body. For me, it did not work for me at first because I was not super in my body. So my conscious mind would be like, I think it should look like this before I would use my hands to gauge. And so, for example, this is 0, this is 100, this is 50%. Like that is a way to do it. If you're super in your body, you feel super good about using like a body tool. I call it hand divination. If you feel super good about that, that's a great option. I had a hard time with that when I was starting out because I was not in my body. And sometimes I'm still not. So if I'm not feeling really comfortable and like embodied, then I won't use a body tool. If I am, then I might do that. But in general, I tend to use the odometer thing, and I'll just picture like 0 to 100. The pie chart is a really good technique, and just seeing which slice represents what in your field. And this is all imaginal. So even if you're like, I am not clairvoyant at all, and I don't like identify that way, if you have an imagination, you can do this. And especially in the container, especially in a container that is focused on honing your ability to engage with these tools. So that being said, yeah, does that make sense to everybody? The way to categorize. So we have authentic energies. So authentic is like our energies personal to this lifetime. So not other lifetimes, not other ancestors, our personal energies. So whoever you are, wherever you are, what age and time you're in and space, those are our authentic energies, the things that make us us. Yeah, so that's the way I'm defining it. That's the way I've had it defined for me. Other people will do different things, and that's fine. If you find something else that works for you in defining authenticity, run with it. But for our purposes for this course, that's what it means. So there's your authentic energy, there's societal, and then there's familial / ancestral, and then other, and other can be anything. So does that make sense? The categorization and measuring it? Yeah. And if you come up with another tool that you think works better, feel free to share it in the chat, or yeah, we'll keep it in the chat right now. If you find another tool that like works well for you that you want to share with others, go ahead and do that. These, yeah, it's endlessly complex, and the possibilities are like as broad as your imagination. So that's that. And then engaging emotion, we can do it the exact same way we did with the process, which is like breathing in, grabbing that energy and putting it in a bubble and having this little sphere outside of your aura. And that tends to work really well for a lot of types of emotions. We'll also work with like in our bodies. And but the main things for like engaging it is like, are you giving this emotion permission to exist, or are you like pushing it violently away? Remember like that it is a lot easier to work with energies if we're not fighting them. If we're fighting the energies, we have to work with the fighting first. So a lot of times we'll call that resistance. You're resisting the energies, pushing against it, or reacting a lot to the emotion. So if that's happening, we'll work with the fighting / resistance first and have the earth like hold that, and just kind of like let you kind of like, whew, take a breather, relax into the earth, kind of reset, and then engaging the emotion. If you don't engage the fighting, but you engage the emotion, it's going to be kind of like trudging uphill. You can do it, but it's probably gonna take longer. It's probably not gonna be as effective. I'm not saying it can't work. I've made it work before, but I recommend working with the fighting / resistance first. Sometimes our emotions will have shells around it, like a hard shell or some sort of guarding energy that kind of like you sense that there's an emotion there, but you can't quite tell what it is. and I would call that guarding. And I've like, that's the way I was taught, is to have it be called guarding. And sometimes you can personify the thing that's guarding it. So you can imagine it like a little knight, or like a knight in shining armor, or like a little bridge troll or something, you know, like something that's like, hey, get away. So if that's fun for you, you can personify it. I tend to work with it just like a nesting doll, like where there's like layers, and we release the layers and release the layers and then get to the core emotion. And if the core emotion is ours, it's not that bad. So I think what gets scary about emotional work for people is the resistance and fighting, like your own resistance and fighting, that you're like, it's so scary. That's the thing that makes it scary. If you remove that, it's genuinely, if it's your authentic energies, it's going to be way easier to work with than the fighting energies. The fighting energies are the thing that make it uncomfortable, or the fact that it's other people's emotions, like kind of jamming your system. That's the thing that makes it hard, not the emotion itself. So emotional work gets a bad rap because it's uncomfortable. We tend to like, well, for some of us, for me, I tend to resist it. And then when I do finally engage it, I'm like, oh shit, it's not that bad. Like, it's really not. So emotional work is the best. It's one of the best tools for becoming, like, feeling more like ourselves, whether it's your authentic emotions or not. Okay, so, and as a general framework, you can't process somebody else's emotions. Like, you can't like run it through your body and heal it. At least not at this level. I'm not saying it can't be done. It can be done. And there's some systems that will like do that, but I don't engage with those systems, haven't studied them, don't know them. In general, I find that you can't process somebody else's emotions for them. So we might take it on with the best of intentions, consciously or unconsciously, like we see someone hurting, or like, oh shit, well, I feel good today, I'll just take it for them. You can't help them the way you can help yourself in your own space. So what we're going to do is we will heal those energies outside of our space and give them back, or dissolve them into the earth or the universe. So they get like their own healing. Like, you're not just like kicking them out and not helping them. We do help them, but we're not running them through our bodies. If you're running someone else's energies through your bodies, it will like jam the system kind of. So yeah, and when you do like get to your own emotions, it's like cake. It's super easy. If you've been dealing with other people's emotions all your life, your emotions are going to be a cakewalk. So I hope that is encouraging and makes it more appealing and exciting. And it can even feel like good to, and kind of like there's a catharsis, there's a release that happens when we do process our own emotions, whether inside our body or outside of our bodies. I like to usually process my emotions inside my bodies if they're mine. Inside my body, my energy body. But you can do it outside. But I find that it's almost like pleasurable to like finally like release an emotion that's mine, that's old, that needs releasing. If it's somebody else's energies, there's no amount of crying that's going to help them. Whereas like with our own energies, you can cry that shit out. You can cry it and it'll feel great. If it's like grief, for example. But if it's somebody else's grief, you'll feel it. You'll start to like, when you're able to like discern, is this mine? Is that someone else's? You might be crying and feel like, why am I crying? Like it's just not feeling any better. If it's not feeling any better, it's probably not yours. Not universally, but generally speaking. Any questions thus far? So we're going to work with two different techniques. The first one is the one that we worked with in the beginning with the bubble process that I just spoke to. And then the second one is kind of like imagining the emotion outside of you or inside your body after we've cleaned out like everybody else's energies. This is for our authentic emotions. I like to like stretch it like dough. Like kind of just like if you've ever kneaded dough before, just kind of stretching it like that, or just with your like visually stretching it. And this is part of like giving it space, like giving it permission to exist, like the acceptance piece, like not fighting against it. If we are fighting against it, again, we engage that energy first. But if you're like solid, you're not resisting it, it is your own authentic energies. I love to just like stretch it out and make it get like big. And then I bring earth and universal energies to like kind of like dissolve it and turn it into its next form, like its higher evolution. So the evolved form of my grief, my authentic grief, might be like a deeper love, like a deep love for humanity. The evolution of anger might be like, I feel protective of my family, of my loved ones, etc. Or I like have a high level of discernment of what's for me and what's not and what I deserve. So each emotion has like an inherent value and lesson if it is our own. If it's not our own, then that's not our lesson to assimilate. It'll be somebody else's lesson. So we'll release that first, kind of heal it up, patch it up, give it either back to them or to the earth or to the universe. And then, but with our own energies, you can imagine like, yeah, those examples I just gave for their evolved forms. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense for anybody, please let me know at any time. Okay, cool. So let's start the bubble process first. Let's see how much time we have. Good. Okay. So just get comfy again. If any of these, if any of this lesson is like not landing well for you, or it isn't right for you, letting it be translated with the help of your inner knowing, your guides, letting them kind of like change it to something that works for you and your system. If there's anything that popped up, like any emotions, that's perfect timing. So just kind of allowing them to be there. If you have any feelings or emotions arising, if there's any like fear or confusion or resistance, like the fighting energy, like pushing against something, or anger, frustration, or sadness. If there's like frustration at not getting this or overwhelm, it's totally fine. And we are going to work with it. And if you're just like, yay, I want to be here, but there's like some other people's stuff in my space, that's great too. So let's refresh our grounding cord. So let the existing one dissolve or fall away. If there's any energies of mine in your space, I'm going to call them back and give everybody back their own energies. Good. And from the center of the earth, calling up a grounding cord that's going to help you in this moment. Calling it up to your feet or your hips. Letting it make its way up your body, cradling each energy center it encounters. Bringing it up as high or as low as feels good for this moment. Good. And letting it just kind of settle where it needs to. And if you want a golden cosmic cord, bringing that in through the crown of your head, past your third eye, to your throat maybe, to your heart maybe. lower maybe, ending, or not at all. That's good too. And let's just immediately clear debris with the magnets in front of you and behind you. Good, letting those magnets get heavy with energetic debris. Good. They can orbit your field. And dropping it down to the center of the earth to compost. Good. We're calling your authentic energies into a golden sparkly orb. Let's bring it overhead of us on above our heads this time. Just playing with different ways. Having your guides help you collect up those energies to that orb. You can write your name on it, your full name if you like. Letting those be purified and brought to current time. And let's imagine those energies turn into a molten golden liquid as they update, as they revivify. And imagine there's a little lever on it, and pull the lever and just allow those energies to cascade down your form into your body, filling all the spaces we've made. Spaces where other people's energies were, other little debris particles. Good. 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 And then let's tune into what emotions are in our field, and let's increase our permission to assess that. So just with our intention and the momentum and support of the container and our guides. Good. Good. There's a small increase in awareness, perhaps, in where your emotions lie. So for many of us, this will be in our lower centers, like in our tummy. This may be like on your back side or around you in your field. It may be in your heart. Just kind of tuning into where those emotions lie. They tend to be in our torso or in our field. Good. So once you've identified an emotion, see if you can kind of give it a general genre. So whether it's envy or grief or anger, or there's just like a general like feeling. Even if you can't name it, just kind of seeing if you can kind of assess where and what it is, the qualities of it. If it's beyond naming, that's okay too. We're just going to kind of like coalesce these energies, like let them gather. Good. And now kind of bring your attention to your breath. And on your inhale, gather those energies up. Imagine you just snatch them. And on your exhale, put them in a bubble. Inhaling, grabbing those energies. I'm gonna bring some support to do that. Exhale, put them in the bubble. Inhaling, grabbing those energies. Exhaling, put them in the bubble. Sometimes I even like to put a little magnet that's intended specifically for those emotional energies inside the bubble and start to draw out those energies if I'm having trouble. So if that is something you'd like to do, you can do that. Just giving it a little more like oomph. Good. Letting those energies collect in that bubble, those emotional charges. Good. And now kind of like let the bubble have a little bit of distance from you. Letting it be outside of your aura so it's less intense. And letting that bubble and just kind of see how you react to those energies. Is there a fighting against it? Is there a gentle awareness? Is there acceptance? Is there disgust? Just letting anything that's true come up. And if you have reaction or you're fighting against it, resisting it, we'll call that resistance. If you have any resistance, we'll bring earth energies to hold that. And let the earth energies kind of permeate that energy, the resistance, if that's you, or disgust or pushing against. Just let the earth kind of take the weight off of that. Good. And letting the earth kind of validate the resistance, like, you know, like it's worked for you thus far. You're resisting it for a reason, like, and it's okay. It might be for an outdated reason, but there's still always a reason. So you can talk directly to your resistance and be like, it's okay. You get to release now. It's safe to release. Or you can have the earth kind of reassure it. Just with your intention, with intuition. Good. You don't have to think or try too hard. You can just kind of soften. It's a letting go. So if you're clenched, just kind of bring attention to that clenching and just gently unfurl. And let the earth support you in that. Good. Good. And the earth can wash over any remaining resistance. Just a gentle wave dissolving it. Excellent. And then turning toward the emotion itself in the bubble outside of your field. Let's bring earth energies to come up and hold it. Get earth cord from the center of the earth. And that earth cord is going to like stabilize that bubble and kind of give it permission to exist in space. The earth energy is going to give the emotion itself permission to exist and express. Good. If there's any outer shell layers of emotion that want to release, any guarding, you can bring attention to it. It's not for everybody, but if that's you, if there's like a hard outer shell that kind of prevents you from tuning into the emotion, just letting the earth come up and the universal energies come down and kind of validate the structure of that guarding, the outer shell, and reassure it and gently dissolve and release it, giving it permission to just relax. Good. So now let's see how much of this is your authentic emotion using your categorization tool of choosing. Whether that's the pie chart that shows up as a chunk or a slice, or the odometer and seeing where that line falls, or you're using your hand, just kind of see where it falls. If you don't feel like you're getting a clean read, we're going to bring some support to help you get a clean read. So if that's you, just kind of like let any energies that are inhibiting a clean read and trust and rapport with this tool to fall away, to vibrate out of your field and release. Just with your intuition, with your inner knowing, with your guides and the container, just trusting that. Good. And if that's you and you want to start again on the read, see how many of those energies are your authentic energies in the emotion. Good. Okay. And if it's not 100%, which I imagine for most of us it isn't, let's go to the next category. So how much of this is societal? So belonging to a group identity, an in-group. So if you're a woman, maybe like collective women, race, ethnicity, age group, socioeconomic status. It can be so many things. It doesn't really matter what it is, just kind of giving that broad categorization of society. Good. Seeing what chunk or percentage that is. And just thanking the information. It's just information. Let's go to the next category. How much of this is familial or ancestral? Good. And then if there's any remaining percentages or chunks left, how much of this is other, is not those categories? Good. So now you have a general sense. If it doesn't add up perfectly, don't stress. Just getting a general idea. And now tune back into the emotional energies and see if anything has changed just by engaging it and giving it attention. Sometimes all they want is attention, and that's great. And for a lot of us, there's still stuff that needs to release. Like if your emotion released just with that, that's awesome. But for most of us, we're gonna work with it some more. Good. So let's wash over it with the different elements to release the energies that are not ours. So familial or ancestral, societal or other. Let's wash over it with earth energies, gentle earth energies, and maybe denser earth energies. So I like to picture like a light green and then a deep green or a brown, nourishing energies washing over it. Good. Bringing water, your choice of water. For me, that's an ocean wave usually. You can bring river, you can bring waterfall, rain, etc. They all have their own unique frequencies. So I'm going to wash over mine with a giant ocean wave crashing over it. Good. Then bringing fire, the transformative aspects of fire, the alchemical aspects of fire. Sometimes I like red hot fire. Sometimes I like kind of like a rainbow fire. If you've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, there's like that rainbow fire in one of the episodes with the dragons. You can use that if you like. You can use like a hot blue flame. Just playing with it. And then bringing gentle wind or a rough wind to whiff through the bubble. Good. And now turn toward the emotion again and see what's the state of things now. Has it changed density or quality or color? Good. If there's any remaining energies in that emotion that aren't yours, we're going to drain them down the grounding cord, giving them permission to release. We can imagine we pull a lever on the bubble and release those energies down the grounding cord. Excellent. So now tune in to see if there are any energies left. And the ones that are remaining should be your authentic energies. These are your own emotions. See if they are a little more approachable. So from here, we can give the emotion what it's asking for. So it might need you to like see it. It might need you to listen to it. It might have a message for you. It might just need some love or like a hug or something like that. Just tuning into what is that emotion and what does it want? What's its purpose? Good. So we can even like personify the emotion if you like. If you've ever watched Inside Out and you've seen like those emotions be personified, you could picture something like that. And if it's like hungry for something specific, like love or your time or etc., we're already giving it our time, our attention. If it needs something else, you can give it that. You can also like feed it to them energetically. So you can imagine you have like a nice spoon filled with the energies that they want or need. And just give those to them. Good. If it wants you to see them or listen to them, just do that. If there's a message or there's some sort of like little commitment that it needs you to make. So maybe just like being more attuned to your emotions, or maybe just paying better attention when this particular emotion arises or something else. So we offer those things in the name of growth, in the name of love. Good. And just letting those emotions either change, evolve into their highest evolution and form, or release. So if it's evolving, sometimes I like to see it spin and turn into like a little light or bloom into a flower. But once I've given it the energies that it needs to evolve, it will turn into something. And what is that thing? Maybe it's wisdom, maybe it's awareness, maybe it's compassion for yourself or other human beings. Good. And I think for a lot of us, we're going to assimilate this back into our fields. So once we have healed it, evolved it, just allow the lesson to be available to you. So you can imagine there's like a little energetic update where you learned the lesson that it's offering you. So maybe your guides want to hold on to that information, or you assimilate it into your field. or it just comes in subconsciously. However it's coming in, just allow that lesson to be available to you. Gonna help some people. Good, and just trust. This isn't an efforting thing. Good. We'll hold any resistance that has come up with earth energies, lots of love and care. We're all doing good. We're all learning and engaging this new tool. Good. Holding any secondary emotions that have come up for anybody. Good. And allow that energy, if maybe it turned into like a seed of light or a flower, allowing that to assimilate back into your system if it would like to. If not, you can like plant it in the ground outside of your field if it feels like it's not for you. For a lot of us, we're going to kind of like assimilate it. If you're releasing it, release it into the earth and cosmos. Good. If you want to get really into it, you can plant it in the earth and kind of like water it and tend it, letting it be like this nice little plant that grows. Offering that to the earth. Good. Okay, and magnets in front of us and behind us, letting those orbit our fields, collecting up any debris. Good. Releasing those into the earth. Let's wash over our entire fields with elemental energies. Actually, let's release our grounding cord first. So release the existing grounding column of energies you have. And from the center of the earth, calling up nourishing energies, whether they're green or gold or red, allowing it to be the exact right frequency for you, exact right diameter, width, letting that come up through your feet or through your hips, climbing up your legs or your abdomen, letting it cradle each energy center it comes in contact with. If you have anything heavy that's in your body or your energy body, you can release down this grounding cord. Just kind of inhale and exhale and drop it down. Good. Pulling that grounding cord up or allowing it to come up as high as it wants to go. This feels good. Good. If you want to release and replace your universal cord, you can do that if you're working with that. Allowing a new golden or sparkly stream of energies from the cosmos to come in through the crown of your head, coming down as high or as low as is supportive for you personally in this moment. It can change moment to moment, so it might be different than what you needed at the beginning of the class. Good. Nice. And let's start recalling our authentic energies. Let's do the one overhead of us again to get more of a sense for that. So imagining a golden orb overhead of you. Recalling your authentic energies, pure and true. You can write your name on it if you like. Having your guides help pull those energies back into you, bringing them to current time, place, age. letting those energies turn to molten golden form. And then pulling a lever and letting those drop in through your crown all the way through your body, filling any spaces that we've made. Depositing where they're wanted and needed. Good. Let's wash over our fields with elemental energies now. So washing over with nourishing green earth energies, with the water element of your choosing, with fire inside or outside your field, letting it dissolve and release things that need dissolving and releasing, letting it transform things that need transforming, and then bringing wind to carry off little dust particles, letting your space breathe, giving yourself permission to be on this earth, to have a body, to be a human being, to have emotions, to have a process. And let's use that gauge process again. Just see how much permission are you giving yourself to be a human being in this moment. Just getting a rough estimate. And let's bring a little fire beside that gauge and start to release the things inhibiting you from giving yourself permission to be human. Good. Good. And just see if the permission has increased since we've released. Good. Releasing that image and symbol, releasing the fire. And let's clear with fire instead of magnets this time, just to get a sense for what that feels like. So bringing a little fire in front of your space and behind it. Good. Releasing that. And let's recall our authentic energies, pure and true, into a little golden orb in front of us. And this time we'll send it in through the soles of our feet. Letting that be purified and brought to current time, beaming that up through our systems, depositing where it's wanted and needed. Good, and refreshing our grounding cord again. Letting the old one fall away or dissolve. And from the center of the earth, calling up a brand new one to our hips or to our feet, letting it gently climb up your body with the nourishing energies that best serve you from the earth, cradling each energy center it comes in contact with. Good. And just letting it settle where it needs. If you want to refresh your universal connection, you can allow those energies to release and come through in a new way, in a gentle stream of cosmic energies coming in through your crown, your third eye, your throat. Maybe to your heart or your solar plexus, depending. Maybe not at all. Good. And just kind of letting our fields reset, letting our guides and the container kind of update our system. And coming to when you're ready, coming back to your room, to your body. You visually looking at something to come back, touching your body, stretching. Good. Did anybody have cool experiences that you want to share? Or any questions that arose while we were working with the emotions? We're going to do one more little tool process. So I want to make sure everybody's good with this first one. If you're not, you can put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Also, I'm hungry, so my tummy's been growling, so I don't know if that's coming through on Zoom, but if you heard anything weird, like, I'm sorry. Any cool experiences? Is anybody not understanding or not having success? That's mainly what I'm worried about. So if you're good, just put a thumbs up, put the icon, or if I can physically see you, put a thumbs up. So I know that we're good to move on. If not, put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Shachi, are you good? You can put a thumbs up or say something. Okay, I'm going to assume we're all good. And if you're not at any point, go ahead and put it in the chat. Okay, so for that process, did everybody have success with personifying it? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yes. Okay. Cool. Good. So for this next process, we're going to work with it in our bodies. If we choose to, we can work with it inside or outside our bodies, but we're going to start with emotions that are inside our bodies, that are authentically ours. So we're going to like set the parameters that it's already an authentic emotion. And we'll just kind of drain anything out that isn't ours. But the whole point of this process is like working with authentic emotions. So you can kind of get a sense for how that feels in this new way. Okay, so just kind of tune back in. This will be a real short process. Just kind of with your breath, with your awareness, allowing your awareness to increase of your emotions if it needs to. Just kind of tune into areas in your body where there might be emotion, pockets of emotion that are authentically or mostly authentically yours. Good. Once you've identified that, we're going to like breathe into it. So you can inhale and exhale with that emotion, just kind of acknowledging it, seeing it. We're going to outline the emotion so you can trace the edges of it. It's kind of, it might be like an amoeba shape, it might be sharp or soft, depending, just kind of outlining the emotion with like golden energies. Good, and let's bring it its own grounding cord inside of our bodies. So allowing a tiny little mini grounding cord to come up and hold that blob of emotional energies. And let's wash over it with earth energies first and just kind of give any inauthentic energies permission to be. Give it lots of love and care from the earth, whatever it needs to release. And then letting any inauthentic energies drain down the grounding cord. Or you can pull a lever and release them. Good. And now that we have our authentic emotions in place, just kind of give it permission to take up space. So you can like stretch it like dough or like a mirage, like if it's like a misty thing, you can imagine it kind of expands gaseously, or if you like the dough thing, you can kind of knead it out, like expand it to a place that feels good. And just allowing it to move. I've always really hated it when people say it's emotion, it's motion, it needs to move, but it really is true. Emotions aren't meant to be stuck or stagnant, they're meant to be kind of fluid. So just allowing it to have movement, to have space, giving it permission to expand if it needs to. If it's too much at any point, we can bring earth energies to hold it with us and move it outside of our space. So not necessarily using the bubble, but just kind of placing it outside of us if it's too much. We'll bring earth energies to make that available. But if we're working with it in our bodies, just allowing that outline to kind of become apparent, finding the edges of it, tuning into the qualities of the emotion. Good. And just asking what the emotion needs to evolve or release. Good. So naming it, naming what kind of emotion is it, generally speaking, and then what does it need or want? Good. And now that it has acknowledgement and space and earth energies, just kind of give it what else it needs. If it needs love, you can imagine it is washed over with abundant love. If it needs your time or your care, just imagining you like kind of like take care of it. You bathe it, you feed it, you do whatever's needed. You can personify it or just work with it as an energy. And for all of us, let's wash over it with elemental energies. So earth, water, fire, and wind. And then maybe bringing some golden cosmic energies or earth energies to kind of percolate through it and start to evolve it. Good. Sometimes I like to churn it like butter, or sometimes I picture the elements or the cosmic energies like kind of whooshing through it and changing it and turning it into like this sparkly new thing. Can bring rainbow energies, can bring different types of cosmic or earth energies. You can spoon feed it energies. Just let it update and evolve into its next form. So maybe that's a type of awareness or love or authenticity, kindness, fierceness. And just determine whether that's for you to assimilate or if it's to release. And if it's to release, you can imagine you pull the lever and it releases through the grounding cord. If it's to assimilate, letting it evolve, letting all of these emotions, regardless of if they released or not, or evolved, letting the little lesson be given to you in whatever form it needs to. So assimilating the lesson, and then for those of us who are assimilating the energies themselves, just letting that assimilate and mix in with your field in whatever way is best for you. Good. And allowing the guides to help any of us who need a little assistance. Everybody looks pretty good though. Good. And let's wash over our fields again with elemental energies. So earth energies, light green, nourishing earth energies, maybe a darker green or a warm brown washing over fields. Bringing a wave of ocean energies, or river, waterfall. Bringing transformative fire. Bringing wind, gentle breeze, and releasing your grounding cord that you have and calling up a fresh new one from the center of the earth to your hips or to your feet. Letting that rise up through your body, through your legs or your lower centers, and bringing it up to whatever energy center feels appropriate for today. Good. Letting that settle. And then if you're replacing your universal energies or working with those, you can bring in a fresh new universal cord as well to make its way through the top of your head as far down as it needs to. Letting your heart reattune to the heart of the earth with your intention and intuition. Good. Washing over our fields with rainbow energies, letting everything integrate. And a magnet in front of us and behind us to release any extra energetic debris which wants to release. Letting those orbit our fields, collecting up debris. Dropping down to the center of the earth to compost. Recalling our authentic energies, pure and true, updated, and brought to current time to a golden orb in front of you. Letting your guides help you with that if need be. And once that's done, bringing it in through the soles of your feet and jumping on it or letting it whoosh through your body, depositing the energy where it's needed. Letting this reset our fields, our systems, all aspects of our identity. Letting our guides be updated with these changes. Good. And starting to come back to the room. Good. And touching your body or looking around. If you're turning your head, also turn your shoulders. Good. Maybe stretching, breathing. And welcome back. How's everybody feeling with that last process? That's our final process. So I know it's been 2 hours and we usually do an hour and a half. So thank you for staying. And this week I will share a meditation to go over like the emotional processes, since they are kind of unique to the other tools we're using. It's kind of its own animal. Does anybody have any questions or comments before we go? Anything working, not working? Is everybody marshmallowed out? Okay, cool. So if you feel complete, we're just going to go ahead and just, if any of my energies are in your space or any of yours are in mine or in each other's space, we'll gently send everything back to its rightful owner, blessed and enhanced. Good. If anything that I said is kind of like landing heavy in your field and not sitting well with you, letting your guides kind of move it out of your space or translate it to something that works better for you. Nice. Okay. Any last questions? Comments? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Thanks, y'all. Have a good rest of your night if it's night where you are. And lots of yummy bedtime energies. Bye. Thank you.